Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you are a brand new subscriber or a brand new viewer. My name is Kyle. Avatar: The Way of Water is coming out next week. I am very excited to see it, and in the meantime, I am taking a look at all the James Cameron films I have yet to discuss on the channel. I've already talked about the original Terminator as well as The Abyss, and today we are carrying on by talking about 1994's True Lies, which stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as globe-trotting super spy Harry Tasker discovers his domestic life is in turmoil when his wife, Helen, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, might actually be having an affair. Now, before we jump in, this review will contain spoilers as I will be talking about the characters and the plot, so if you have not seen True Lies, please go watch it and come back to this review. What I can say about True Lies is that it definitely feels like, at times, a parody of the James Bond films. And where Steven Spielberg was able to create his version of the character with Indiana Jones, James Cameron was able to do a similar thing here with Harry Tasker, played by Schwarzenegger. He's suave, intelligent, crafty. He's able to mingle with a crowd and dances with Juno Skinner, played by 10 out of 10 Tia Carrere, all while his partner Gibbs, played by Tom Arnold, is sitting in the van waiting for him to come back. And just like with James Bond, the opening of the film exemplifies the beauty of being a secret agent, but also the immediate danger that comes with being a secret agent, which leads to a tremendous action sequence through the snowy vistas. Now, the leg up that True Lies has is the fact that it is incredibly over the top, and James Cameron is not afraid to show it, because within this scene, Arnold takes two dogs, slams their heads together, and yells, "Stay," to them. That immediately sets the tone for the rest of the film. And this is one of the great charms about True Lies, is that it's a comedy at heart. And James Cameron setting out to do a comedy is something that a lot of people might have strayed him away from. Now, of course, with Terminator 2, he definitely had his moments of comedy in there, but the movie was very serious, and he's known for being a serious filmmaker. So his attempts to try to make something that's rather silly, it seems like something that would be like, I don't know, but like James Cameron does, when there's a will, there's a way. And in the case of True Lies, he absolutely succeeded because the movie is hysterical. I'd say 90 to 95% of the jokes land, and most of them are thanks to Tom Arnold's performance as Gibbs. He is so funny, and his chemistry with Arnold Schwarzenegger is nothing short of fantastic. You really get the sense that these two know each other for a long time, and they are the only two characters in the film who remain constantly truthful to one another. We find out they work for the Omega Sector, the last line of defense, and the leader of the organization is the one and only Charlton Heston wearing an eye patch. That is one of the greatest ideas I've ever heard in my life, and I wish I could have been there the day that James Cameron made the decision of, you know what, we're going to get the guy who once played Moses and Ben-Hur, we're going to have him wear an eye patch and say this line.
So far, this is not blowing my skirt up, gentlemen.
There are numerous moments in this movie where I said to myself, there is no way that they could have gotten through that on the first take without cracking up. The first act of True Lies is very action heavy, and it's exemplified further during the mall sequence. Now, it is pretty funny, the idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing sunglasses into a mall. I'm thinking to myself, I wonder where I've seen that before. James Cameron was not playing around with these references, and it leads to a tremendous brawl scene in the bathroom, which 100% inspired the look of the bathroom fight in Mission Impossible Fallout. And then we lead to the next action set piece, which only an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie could get away with, where he's riding on a horse chasing a guy on a motorcycle. And this is the perfect time to talk about the score of the film by Brad Fiedel. Now, Brad Fiedel composed the music for the first two Terminator films, respectively. And those two films were very dark, so we had to have very thematic and deep electronic themes in those movies. Here, his music sometimes makes you feel like you're in a circus, and it perfectly represents the tone of this movie. It's very silly and very over the top. And this scene is just a perfect example of this. When we get into the second act, that's when things slow down a little bit, and we get to learn more about Helen and the fact that she's meeting up with this mysterious man named Simon, played by the late, great Bill Paxton. Rest in peace to you, man. I miss you, and I think everyone in the world does. Bill Paxton was truly an amazing actor. His character is absolutely pathetic, but the irony in this scene is very clever because Helen is attracted to somebody who secretly is a car salesman, but he is pretending to be a spy, whereas her husband is a spy pretending to be a salesman. And once again, the physical comedy is so funny when Harry is staring through the binoculars and he breaks one of the glasses. Now, the interesting thing here is that Harry is angry at his wife for lying to him when he's been lying to her for 17 years about being a spy. Now, I've been purposefully holding off on talking about Jamie Lee Curtis until the second half of the movie for a reason. Because the first half of the movie is really about Harry. We get to see what he does as a secret agent, then we get to see what his domestic life is like, but we still get to see him trying to work through a mission. Once we get into the second half of the film, and especially during the interrogation scene, we finally get to learn really about her character, and that is, she's very stuck in her life. She doesn't have any real means of escape. Her husband is never there. The idea that this woman feels very trapped in her own skin is so well done here by the actress Jamie Lee Curtis. I think she really does a terrific job. And I think she is phenomenal in the film. And there is a reason why this is her favorite movie. We really get to see everything through her perspective during the second half of the film. And things take an even extra turn when she is offered the chance to do a mission in order to get out of the situation. What I like about this is that True Lies, on top of being a comedy slash action movie, is also a romance movie because it is about a man trying to reconnect with his wife, who he has been extremely disconnected with. And this then leads to the scene that everybody knows and has talked about, which is Jamie Lee Curtis's transformation scene. Now, what I like about this scene, outside of the obvious, which it's there, I like the fact that her character is very nervous here. She trips on her heels. When she goes into the room, she just is very meek, very timid. But as the scene keeps going and as she does the dance, we get to see that she really is a confident woman beneath all of that, beneath that sort of shyness, that exterior, her wearing these big glasses. She really is capable of herself, and the even bigger picture here is the fact that she is able to accomplish the mission just doing it in a different way than Harry would, using her feminine wiles. And for some people, they've criticized this as being misogynistic, but honestly, I don't see it that way at all. In fact, I think it's very empowering because Helen as a character is somebody who just doesn't really have anything going for her in her life, and she is doing this out of desperation for her family and for her family's safety, but at the same time, she has courage. She is going through this situation, and even though it results in her stripping and doing a dance, she still has the upper hand in this scene. And I like the fact that as the film keeps going, we get to see her become a stronger person, but still vulnerable. She's not perfect. She will make mistakes, but she will find a way to get out of a situation and use the strength that she's always had within her. And as we enter into the third act, she's witnessing all of these things that she never thought she would ever see. These private jets, a mysterious hidden island, nuclear weapons, a scientist with truth serum. Like, all of these things are just absolutely crazy, and the revelation of her husband lying to her the whole time leads to a really awesome punch with that white flash that James Cameron loves to do. But I like the fact that these scenes are really done through her perspective as she watches her husband snap a lot of guys' necks, and those sound effects are hilarious here. The action set pieces in this movie are brilliant, and definitely the scene on the bridge is one of the most iconic scenes I think of any action movie ever made. If Total Recall is of any consolation, I love watching action scenes with two women fighting each other. And in the case of True Lies, there's some comedy thrown in there, especially when Jamie Lee plants her foot in Tia Carrere's face. That must have been a huge laughter for the audience in the theater. As well as the scene beforehand where that bird just falls onto the big truck and it explodes as they fall. And the finale of this scene is hands down one of my favorite shots of all time. Everything about it just feels so cinematic in every way, and you feel like you're just completely in the element. And Jamie Lee Curtis has always talked about how she loved performing this stunt. It's absolutely terrific because you can tell that it's her doing the scene. Fantastic work all around, and there's a reason why she is so proud of this movie. Up till this point, True Lies is spectacular. It's action-packed, it's hilarious, it's romantic at the same time. It really can make for a great date movie. I can see myself watching this with a date and simply just having a great time watching it and then after watching it. However, there are a couple of flaws with the movie that I do have. Definitely my biggest one is getting into the third act. All of a sudden, the bad guys just burst into the hotel room. How did they find them? There's never a mention of a mole within the Omega sector, so were they tracking down Helen? Were they tracking down Harry? It was almost like James Cameron was thinking to himself, how do I get to the third act? But he couldn't find a way to do it very simply, so he had to make it very abrupt. And that's exactly how it feels. There's no explanation. We just gotta jump into the third act of the film. Now, in typical James Cameron fashion, there is a fourth act of the movie, which is where Harry goes into the Harrier jet. I'm sure he probably laughed when he was writing that sequence. And this scene is definitely where the movie feels a little long. It's like at 2 hours, it's the perfect length. But then there's another 20 minutes, and it feels like we're just adding on an extra 20 minutes. Yes, Arnold has to kill all of the bad guys. I understand it, but it definitely feels like the movie is going on a bit too long. And unfortunately, some of the special effects do look a bit dated here. Now, I do think that a way to fix that would be a proper Blu ray transfer, and for some reason, True Lies, along with The Abyss, has not been released on Blu ray. I don't know what James Cameron and his team are doing. These movies should both be released on Blu ray. I definitely think an upscale for the movie can fix some of these effects. I think my biggest takeaway with this movie is that it's a lot better than I remember it being. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've begun to understand the film's hidden messages and its ironies a lot stronger. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older that I'm enjoying movies like this a bit more. And who knows, maybe as I get older, I'll love it even more than I do right now. I'm going to give True Lies an A minus. So what do you guys think about True Lies, and what is your favorite scene from the film? Please let me know down in the comment section below, and in the meantime, do not forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. All the links to my social media pages can be found in the description box below, as well as my business website, kjgpictures.com. The link is also in the description box below. My next review is going to be for Titanic. Man, I have a lot to say about that film, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So I hope you guys stick around for that, and in the meantime, stay tuned.